Content warning. Episodes of Grey Matter may contain themes and depictions of extreme mental illness, traumatic bodily harm, and death. If you aren't in the right headspace to engage with those depictions right now, maybe this episode should wait for another time. Otherwise, proceed with caution.
Hello, and welcome back to Grey Matter. Hey, if you don't mind me asking, what are you doing here? Don't you know that you could be sitting on your couch with all the lights off, lying face down on your bed with a pillow over your head and trying to hold the cruel world outside at bay? I mean, why do anything? Don't you want to go home? I do, and not just because this job extracts such a heavy metaphysical toll that I have to chloroform myself to sleep each night. There's something safe in the word home, even if all you're describing with it is a building. While a house is built with wood, brick, and plaster, a home is made of memories. The rooms are no less real, even if the door leads only to your mind. There are some spots you walk through, others you sit down in for hours a day, and some nooks and crannies that haven't been touched for years. But you'd know right away if anything got moved. What is that feeling? Is it safety? Love? Maybe that feeling is what we are, without financial hardships or physical limitations. Or maybe, just maybe, home is nothing more than the word you use for a house you're familiar with. This tape is about a living space, one that no sane mind could mistake for a home, but one where someone lives nonetheless. It's called The House on the Borderland, and I hope it's cozy enough for you. The House on the Borderland. Written and directed by Jonathan Inbody, and adapted from the novel of the same name by William Hope Hodgson.
There are places where the world bleeds. That's what someone told me once. And I wasn't any more inclined to believe him than you are to believe me. But I guess I don't mind. This story is true, whether you believe it or not, and God help you if you do. Henry Barringer lived alone in a house high in the hills, deep in the woods. Henry, or Hank as he preferred to be called, was many things. A veteran, a widower, a retiree, and a recluse. But more than anything else, he was a tough son of a bitch. You know old folks. Some are just stubborn. His huge ramshackle brick house sat on the top of a hill surrounded by brambles and overhanging a dried-up ravine that some company wanted to turn into a quarry. It might not have been a quarry yet, but it was undoubtedly a pit. One that the folks around town used to joke went all the way down to the center of the earth. While his neighbors had taken generous offers given to them, abandoning their rundown homes to be demolished by the slow roll of the future, Hank stood still. There was no real reason, at least none that anyone could figure, and he seemed content to go on ripping up new offer letters as his crumbling home's value plummeted by the day. When Hank's name came across my desk, I had only met the man twice. Once at St. Anthony's during Father Tompkins' retirement party, and once at the unveiling of a bench dedicated to veterans in a town park. At first, I wasn't sure if he knew what I did for a living, and if he was avoiding me because of it. but after only a few minutes of knowing him, it became clear. It was not in his nature to be terribly social. So, that evening, as I drove up the cracked, winding road through the dark, dense woods to the top of the hill where the Barringer house stood, I was not expecting a warm welcome. It was a beautiful old house, really. Some massive turn-of-the-century thing with arched windows and a tall roof that sloped up on both sides into a steep point. The thing had been constructed with solid brick and covered in ivy, like some relic of a medieval age that America had never had, and it was all shadows, sharp angles, and crumbling parapets. From the outside, it looked something like a haunted house, but in the evening, it almost glowed in the sunset. And it really would be a shame to watch it get bulldozed, no matter how much was being offered for the land. The brass knocker made a satisfying sound on the massive door, and after a moment I heard a muffled noise of a cane tapping on the creaking hardwood. Then, I listened as a series of solid locks were turned and a chain withdrawn, and finally, the heavy door swung open. On the other side stood an old black man with silver hair, his still sharp eyes set inside a wrinkled face, and I saw his hand tighten on the top of his cane as he let out a heavy sigh.
What is it?
Hello, Hank. It's, I'm Ted Jessup. We've met before.
We have?
Well, I'm not sure if you're aware of what I do, but I'm a social worker.
Mm-hmm.
There's no easy way to say this, Hank, but a few people have approached me with concerns about your safety, and I've come by to check on you. Ordinarily, a welfare check would be conducted by the police, but, I figured, given your military experience and your standing in the community, the least I could do is, come by myself.
Military experience. Like I had a choice.
Either way, you served your country, and that...
Don't tell me what I did.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean any disrespect. I just want to make sure you're all right.
I am.
Wait, Hank, please. I'm trying to help you. I know you don't think you need checking in on, but trust me when I say that it will happen. And trust me when I say that I'll be much more compassionate about it than Sheriff Teague would. No one wants to hurt you, or take you away from your home. I just want to help.
Well, you better come in then.
The inside of the place was just as sparse and gothic as the outside. Every corner had a long, creeping shadow between pockets of orange incandescent lights. And despite the long carpets lining the wooden floor, the high-ceilinged hall couldn't have felt less like home. As I watched Hank hobbling down it and followed, he looked less like a recluse and more like a servantless king on house arrest. A King Lear without daughters, or Macbeth left alone awaiting Burnham Wood to climb Dunsinane. This is a beautiful house. Probably sturdy too. With all the metal on the doors and windows, I can see why you don't want to sell it.
Thank you. I've had it for a long time, and I'll be damned if some cheap men in expensive suits think they're going to take it from me.
And it's roomy. The perfect size for a family.
I wouldn't know. It was always just Esther and I. But it sure felt bigger after she was gone. Do you have kids, Jessup?
A son. Just turned 2.
Don't let him go to war. You said your first name's Ted, right? Is that short for Edward or Theodore?
Edward.
What's your kid's name?
William.
Yeah, I like that better. So what exactly do you need to hear to get out of my house, Mr. Jessup?
Well, Here, we should sit. I just want to go over a few things, ask some general welfare questions, and make sure you're still able to take care of yourself. Okay. So, first of all, I just want to ask about your health and nutrition. Do you have a doctor? Do they have any concerns?
High blood pressure, arthritis, and I might have to replace my other knee.
Is your eyesight okay? Hearing okay?
Same as it ever was.
Do you cook for yourself?
Eat out of cans mostly, non-perishables, anything that doesn't expire.
Do you hit all the basic food groups?
Jessup, if there's a reason you're here, a real reason, why don't you save us both the time and skip ahead to that part?
Sure. Well, first of all, Ginny Boson said she ran into you at the supermarket the other day, and that all you had in your cart was a bag of dog food and a box of shotgun shells.
So?
You don't have a dog, Hank.
Pepper! Come here!
He waited proudly, expecting his validation to arrive any second with a wagging tail. But after a few long seconds where nothing moved in the dark, empty house, his shoulders slumped and his face fell. You know, it's funny. I used to have a dog named Pepper.
Apparently, so did I. Excuse me, I get confused. I lived long enough that the years, well, they all bleed together.
What about the shells, Hank? Do you hunt, or do you have some reason to be concerned for your safety?
That's my business.
It is until someone gets hurt. You know, those people with Carnegie Coal, they won't try and hurt you. You know that, right?
I don't care what they do.
Then why do you have the ammunition?
I get prowlers.
All the way out here. I mean, with respect, what do they want to steal? Look, Hank, I understand. I do. But sometimes when people get older, they get confused. Like you said. But it's not just memories getting jumbled up. People hear things, or see things, or become convinced that someone's trying to hurt them. But it's not real. It's just... What is that, Hank?
Nothing.
What is it?
Rats.
I got it from the couch and started for the hall, waiting to hear the sound again to get a better sense of where it was coming from. I could hear Hank's cane tapping as he hurried to follow me, but as I made my way towards the back of the house, he turned and ducked into another room. At the end of the hall, I stopped in front of a large metal door. It was chained and bolted shut like a medieval dungeon, and it shook as something struck it from the other side. When I turned my head to look back at the doorway where Hank had disappeared, he emerged from the dark with a pump-action shotgun. Hank, what are you... Is there someone locked inside here?
Get away from the door, Jessup.
Hank, if you've done something, we can work it out, okay? But I need you to...
I said get back!
No! Not until you tell me what's...
It's a distraction.
What? Hank tossed his cane aside and led back through the house, probing each new room with the shotgun before he stepped inside. I followed, unsure if I was more afraid for his safety or mine, and when he pushed open the door to a dark, cluttered library, we stepped inside together. There, the shattered glass from a barred, broken window between two bookcases sat lying on the hardwood floor. Hank and I slowly walked up to it, eyeing the broken window as a cold breeze swept in. Suddenly, a bulging arm shot through the bars of the window, its meaty, four-fingered hand groping blindly at us as we scrambled back. The flesh was mottled gray, almost white, and dotted with leprous spots of fuzzy yellow mold. After a few more seconds of fruitless grasping, the arm receded. Then, into the gap of the window, a hideous head and massive shoulders replaced it. Atop a bulbous, muscular chest sat the grotesque head of a wild boar with oversized spotlight eyes glowing above a pair of jagged, curling tusks. Its head was alien, but whatever it was, no matter how monstrous, hulking, and diseased, its body was the twisted shape of a man. I tried to tell myself that it wasn't really there, that I was seeing things, but I could feel its hot breath, smell the acrid odor of its diseased flesh. When it grunted, I could see flecks of meat caught in its yellow, gnashing teeth.
Hold your breath!
What? The pig head burst into a cloud of yellow dust as a shotgun ripped it apart, and the hulking body shuddered and slumped. The torn-up neck smacked against the broken window and the body slid down, leaving a streak of soupy, yellow blood as it slowly disappeared from view.
Don't breathe in the spores!
Wait, what?
The spores!
What was that thing, Hank?
I told you before, I get prowlers, and they're not done. They're trying to outside doors, all at once while we're occupied. Clever sons of bitches, I'll give them that.
How many of those things are there?
As many as there need to be. As many as it takes.
What do they want?
You've never seen a siege before? They want to get in. Kill us. Eat us.
As we ran into the hall towards the front door, bright, brilliant lights flashed from the other side of the barred windows. What was that? I ran to the door and grabbed at the locks, then looked out the window and froze. It wasn't flashing lights at all. The sky outside was black, then white, plunging dark and burning light in a strobing cycle. The sun was rising and setting in seconds, blanching the driveway in cool moonlight before streaks of pink burst into vibrant yellow. Days passed in moments. Weeks fell from the calendar as I stood watching, and when I stumbled back, Hank was there to catch me. He took my arm, guiding me gently to the wall, leaning me against it as I felt my knees go weak. When I couldn't stand, I slid and finally slumped to the hardwood floor. Hank? What's happening out there?
People think time flows like a river. One way, one speed. But they're wrong. Time is a broken clock, ticking like a drunken watch. 'Cause this place bleeds.
My car's not in the driveway, Hank.
That's good. That means you leave here. Listen, they're trying to get in upstairs. I've got to go check the windows. Stay here, pull yourself together, and don't unlock the door.
I nodded numbly, and Hank limped up the stairs, breathing heavily and fiddling with the shotgun. I heard unsteady footsteps above me, some clattering, another gunshot. Once the front door shook as something slammed against it, but the locks and hinges held, and the metal-rimmed wood didn't break. Then, the house went quiet. I heard heavy, thumping footsteps outside, and a sickening, dragging sound followed behind them. The things outside grunted and snorted in irritated defeat, but soon enough those sounds faded too. Finally, Hank came down the stairs slowly and carefully, using his shotgun as a makeshift cane. His wrinkled forehead was streaked with sweat, and he had a start of a bruise and a bit of smeared blood on the side of his jaw. Are you hurt?
I've had worse. Just getting old.
Look, I don't know how to even put words into what's happening, but you have to call somebody, Hank. The police, the National Guard.
And tell them what?
Tell them what's going on here. What is going on here? What are those animals, those monsters? You said that this place bleeds. What the hell does that even mean?
The house, the hill, the woods, the ravine. It's a keystone. A place that stays solid when the whole world moves. A place where 1,000,000 different dimensions intersect, all at one fixed point. And those layers, when they overlap, they bleed together like ink on paper. Things get jumbled. Past, present, future, all of them stirred into a stream that's circling the drain.
And those swine things? The pigs?
I don't know what they are, not really, but I know where they come from. At the bottom of the ravine, underneath it, there's a hole, deeper than the earth, blacker than space. I think it's the end of all things. The heat death of 1,000,000 stars and the collapse of 1,000,000,000 black holes. And there's nothing alive down there. Nothing left. Nothing but them. They are not like we are. They're poison. A poison that walks. Those bodies, that's not even them. It's the fungus. The mold on their flesh. Inside it, walking them around like puppets on strings made of muscle. Prowling.
Hank? That's insane.
You really think so? Or do you need to think so? Alright, come on. They'll leave us alone for a while. I need your help fixing the place back up before the next attack.
I'm I can't stay here. My son.
Sorry to tell you, but you don't have much of a choice right now. Hell, I don't know. This place, when it shifts, it takes a while to shift back. If you leave, I can't guarantee the where or the when you're walking out into. Your son may have died of old age, or be a million miles away, or maybe you won't have even been born yet. Now hurry, we don't have much time. I shot one upstairs that makes 2 with the one outside the study. They'll drag them back down the cliff, eat what they can, and leave the rest. But it's not enough to satisfy them for long.
But what are we supposed to do? What am I supposed to do?
Ride it out. We'll find a way back when the house settles. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
He picked up his cane from where he left it and led me back down the hall towards the chained metal door. I followed, still in shock, trying my best to make sense of what I'd seen and what he'd said. The long shadows of the house looked different now, looming like they wanted to consume me. I couldn't stay in this place, this stone tomb, much longer. I didn't think my mind could take it.
Hold the shotgun. I'll get these chains off.
We're going in there. But those things...
There's a hole in the basement that opens up into the caves, into the pit. I don't know if they dug it out, or if parts of the cliff just fell away over the years. But whenever they attack, they tear away the house's foundation. If I don't reinforce it...
Hank, what if they're still down there?
They're not. They slink off between attacks, go lick their wounds, and eat their dead. All right, give me the gun. When I'm ready, pull the door open. I'll make sure the stairs are clear before we go down. Ready? All right, go ahead. We're clear. There used to be a trapdoor to cover it. Some huge metal thing the last owner must have made to keep out the Swine-Things. But it fell through when the hole got too big. All I could do was abandon the basement, surrender the contested territory to them, and hope they can't do much damage.
How long do you think the door can hold? Or the house?
The pit grows every day, and the house and I get older. But I'll be damned if I let them have it.
But why? Why not just leave?
Because it ain't their house, you understand?
But is it really worth it? Fighting for your life every day just to keep what's yours?
Do you really think that's anything new? My father and I got bricks thrown at us marching with Dr. King and Selma. And then when I was barely a man, my country, the one whose heel I've been under my whole life, sent me off to go kill farmers halfway across the world. And I did it too, because I was dumb enough to think I'd get something out of it. You know, the only reason the bank sold me this place is because nobody been living here going on 60 years. Cursed, haunted. Folks around called it all sorts of things. I called it my 40 acres and a mule. But that's the dream, isn't it? A house, a wife, a dog. I deserve as much as anybody.
I'm sorry, Hank. I didn't mean any disrespect. Hank gave me a quick, glowering look, and then shrugged and switched on the basement light. The air was thick with floating dust, and at the far end of the large, damp room, a collapsed stone floor gave way to a yawning chasm of black. Hank hobbled over, kicked a bit of rubble into the opening, and then glanced back to me as I plunged down into the dark. We waited almost a minute, but it never hit bottom.
This was always here, I think. Like a sinkhole waiting to fall in. But now that it's started, it grows. A cavity on the teeth of the universe. And I think this place is something like a crown. Maybe the house is all that's holding everything up. The only door keeping their cancer from spreading across every time and place that there is.
But you don't know that. Not for sure.
Do you want me to give up and let the whole world find out together?
No, but there has to be another way. He can't be the last man standing forever.
Doesn't have to be forever. Just longer than them.
Hank smiled grimly, and I could see every pockmark and wrinkle on his ancient face illuminated in the dim hanging light. He looked kingly again, like Titus Andronicus, sure of his course and exhausted by the cost. He was admirable in his own way, One man, solitary, facing the future without fear or hesitation. Where did he get the strength? Without a sign or warning, the chalk-white hand of the swine-thing shot up from inside the bottomless pit and grabbed Hank's ankle. He shouted, and it dragged him back towards the yawning black as his shotgun clattered to the ground. When I ran to grab it, the world seemed to slide in slow motion. Another hulking, heaving swine-thing loped out from the shadow under the stairs, and a third rose from where it had been crouching in a corner. They had been waiting for us. Set a trap. They learned his routine, known when he'd think it was safe. And now, it was all too late. Hank shouted something to me, then turned and began to bash at the swine-thing holding him with his cane. The creature in the corner lurched between me and the fallen shotgun, and I dove back, then ducked under the other's grasping hands and ran for the stairs. I was abandoning him, leaving him to die, but my legs wouldn't stop. Not with those horrible snorting squeals behind me, not with the loping footfalls getting closer. I ran out of the basement and up the hall in a blind panic. I sprinted out into the driveway, and beneath my shoes, the asphalt became gravel, then dirt, as the sky strobed through the backwards day and night cycles in a stuttering, shuddering rhythm. Trees sprang up and rotted all around me as I ran through the forest. Then snow rolled out under me and was ripped away like a thrown-off blanket. Mist and rain replaced it, each drop of moisture cutting into my clothes as they shot past. Days, weeks, seasons, years, decades, centuries, they tore away like scabs as I ran, desperately gasping for my breath as my heart pounded in my chest. I could so hear the heavy, uneven steps thundering after me and feel the hot, grave breath of the grunting swine-thing on the back of my neck. When my foot caught the edge of a lashing tree root, I thought it was the end. I fell forward and twisted, landing hard on my shoulder as the road jarred into a sudden focus around me. The howl of 1,000 days thinned it into a whisper as I caught my breath, rolled onto my back, and stared at the bare treetops above me. Beyond them, the sky had stopped moving, and around me the fog gently rolled through the leafless forest.
Hello? Is anyone out there? Anybody? Hey, buddy. Hey, what are you doing all the way out here? Are you lost? What's your Pepper? Well, that's not...
Pepper, come here, girl.
Oh my God.
A figure emerged from the fog at the edge of the clearing, ducking under a low-hanging branch as he wiped sweat from his brow. It was Hank, but he looked different. His silver hair was now salt and pepper gray, and the wrinkles and lines on his face had been smoothed, like someone had unwound the clock and had taken years off of them. As I stared gape-jawed, I realized that I had.
Hey there. I'm not used to seeing anybody this far up in the woods. You get lost?
Hank?
Yeah. Do I know you?
It's me, Ted Jessup. Do we... have we met yet?
I don't know any Jessups. You look familiar, but it doesn't... It's like an itch I can't scratch, you know? I'm glad you found my dog, or I'm glad she found you. It can be a little dangerous around here. We get prowlers. It's okay. The ground's unstable. I think the whole ridge is going to fall away sooner or later. How long have you been out here? Or do you need help?
Hank, you have to listen to me. In the future, years from now, I'm going to come to your house to check on you. That day, those pig things are... They set a trap.
How do you know about that? About them?
You told me! Now listen, that day, do not go down.
I turned just in time to see one of the swine things towering over me. Its four-fingered hands were extended, and its huge, spotlight eyes shined mindlessly down above a mouth stretched into a yellow-toothed rictus grimace. I reeled back and cracked my head against a tree, and then fell into my stomach and started to desperately crawl. Behind me, I heard Pepper barking furiously, and then the swine thing grunting and squealing, and finally the sound of its meaty fists pummeling flesh. Pepper growled ferociously and snapped her jaws, and after a booming gunshot, the swine thing's howl rose to a horrifying shriek. Then I heard its loping footfalls retreating as Hank's hand reached out for mine.
Here, let me help you up. Are you hurt?
What happened?
Hank pulled me up from the ground with strength I didn't know he had, then left me leaning against a tree as he ran to Pepper's side. She was lying on the muddy ground, breathing shallowly and whimpering as she trembled. I could see the yellow blood in her snout, no doubt from where she had bitten the swine thing, and a bloody gash on her side was what she received in return.
She was trying to protect me. Oh, God. I'm so sorry, Hank.
Pepper? You'll be okay, girl. We just gotta get you back to the house.
He swept the dog into his arms and staggered back through the woods, his thick boots sliding in the mud as he made his way up the hill. When he got close to the top, the road began to move again. Hank disappeared in a split second as the mud solidified into frozen ground. Red leaves floated up onto bare trees and turned green as black clouds pulled up lightning bolts from the ground. I ran after him, knowing he was years away, but when I crested the hill, I finally saw the house again. It stood steady, ancient and proud as the landscape changed around it. Trees shrank and vanished into the ground as clouds rocketed past underneath flashes of day and night. And when I looked at the ravine, I watched bits of rock soar from below as a cliff rebuilt itself. Streaks of color moved through the house and around it, and back and forth through the ravine, to the mailbox, and to the old truck sitting in the driveway. It was Hank and Pepper, moving faster than my eye could register, living on 1,000 backward days at the speed of light. Suddenly, I heard a snort behind me and I whirled. There, shambling up the hill was the swine thing, clutching a bleeding hand to the gunshot wound in its bulging stomach. The mold spots scattered across its corpse flesh wriggled and pulsed as it reached for me. Its bloated, cadaverous sausage fingers curled in a fanned-out mechanical rhythm, and its blank, saucer-wide eyes only stared. Even wounded, it could tear me apart. It could gore me with its tusks, tear through my skin and rip my guts out with one grasping hand, if it got a hold of me. I turned and sprinted down the hill towards the house, dodging around trees as the branches withdrew and they plunged downward into the dirt. A wall of rain spread across the descending trees, leaving a field of smoldering ash, and when the charred remains of ancient trees rose from the ground, massive plumes of fire spread through the forest ahead of me. I peeled off to the right, trying to get around the edge of the fire as it pulled inwards towards its starting point. The ground was growing ahead of me, the cliff collapsing in reverse and the ravine shrinking. Behind me, the forest fire thinned into a single bolt of lightning that shot back into the dark cloud above and began to disperse. Then, as a huge meaty hand dug its fingers into my shoulder, the whole world stopped. I turned my head to look at the swine thing holding me. The same lightning bolt struck the forest behind it, illuminating the side of the swollen thing's hideous face. Time was moving forward again, second by second, and soon the forest would be ablaze with the raging fire I'd just seen the end of. The creature furiously threw me against the fallen tree, then lunged forward and wrapped its hand around my neck. I kicked against its thick legs, but all it did was stare. I felt its grip tighten as I gasped for breath, and I knew I only had a second before it snapped my neck like a twig. I pulled my legs in and pushed out the tree, sending us tumbling down the muddy slope towards the bottom of the hill. We hit a stump and separated, the swine thing howling as I rolled end over end into a bed of leaves. And when I recovered enough to look around, it was nowhere in sight. I shakily got to my feet, leaning on the trees as I stumbled through the woods. I was horribly aware of the smell of smoke in my nostrils. I knew the fire wouldn't make it this far in the forest. I had seen the ebb and flow in reverse. But that wouldn't matter if there was too much smoke to breathe. I crawled on my knees, squinting as I aimed for the ridge I knew wouldn't collapse for at least a few more years. As I got closer, I began to make out the shape of a human figure standing at the edge of the ravine. He was still, staring silently down into the yawning abyss. I called out, and the figure turned, the tears on his cheek almost glowing in the reflected firelight. It was Hank, all right, still gray, but years younger than the last I seen him.
Hank! Hank! It's me!
Who are you? How do you know my name?
You're not gonna... I'm from the future. Years from now. Decades. I don't know how long. But you have to get out of here. If you stay at this house, you're gonna die here.
Well, I was kind of planning on it.
Hank turned his head, and I followed his gaze down the dark ravine. I could see his hands trembling at his sides and tears staining his cheeks. And suddenly, I understood.
Hank, what are you doing here?
Getting ready to jump.
It'll kill you.
That's the idea, pal. And don't try to talk me out of it. You... My wife died today. Heart attack at the supermarket. Just dropped in the middle of the aisle. I didn't even get to say goodbye. You understand? My whole world just fell out from under me right when I thought I had scraped things together. It makes sense, though, in a sick way. After what I've done, the people I killed, I should have figured I didn't get to be happy.
Hank, please. You don't have to die tonight. You've got a lot of good years left in you.
Of what? Being alone?
But you... Oh, what about the Swine-Things? What about the hole they're gnawing at the core of the world? This place is a keystone, right? It's gotta be protected.
Listen, mister. If you want to go get hammered out in the woods, that's nobody's business but yours. But don't come tell me I've got to go hunt for pink elephants.
You really don't know yet.
Know what?
This place bleeds, Hank. It's everywhere, everywhen, from right now all the way to forever. And the things that come crawling up from the dark at the bottom of that hole, they will stop at nothing until they destroyed it, until they've destroyed you. Please, Hank, don't kill yourself. But don't stay here.
He stared at me, brow furrowed, and for a moment I thought I had gone through to him. Then he scoffed, shaking his head before he wiped his tears away with the back of his hand.
What am I supposed to do then, huh? Where am I supposed to go?
Anywhere else. See if you can sell the place. Get yourself a house in the suburbs with a white picket fence and a dog. You're 40 acres and a mule. Hank, you can still have it.
Well, now I know you're not from around here. Listen, that fire looks like it's getting pretty bad. We gotta get out of here.
It doesn't touch the house. Nothing does. Not for years.
Even better. Come on, pal. I've got a spare room for you to sleep it off in.
I'm not drunk.
Sure. Esther and I, though, we were talking about getting a dog. We keep hearing prowlers around the house at night. Thought a dog might scare them off. You ever have one?
Yeah, when I was a kid.
What was his name?
Pepper.
That ain't half bad.
He smiled a little, sniffed, and turned away from the edge of the ravine. Then his eyes moved up past me and into the forest. They went wide, and his face went white. I turned, as Hank and I stared, horrified, at the wall of smoke parted to reveal the wounded swine-thing clutching its bleeding gut, charging towards us. It snorted, eyeing us hatefully as nauseating yellow sweat poured down its forehead and over its gleaming tusks. I had brought it here, let it hitch a ride like a tapeworm on my journey through the cosmic guts of time. If I left it here, there was no telling how much damage it could do. I only had a second to react. I shoved Hank to the side and braced myself. The Swine-Thing slammed into me and I wrapped my arms around it, pulling it back over the edge of the ravine, and then we were in freefall. We plunged into the dark as the wind rushed past us, and suddenly, all at once, everything went silent. The rock wall of the cliff was gone now. Everything was. An endless sea of black surrounded us in every direction. We were sinking in the sea asleep, drifting on the plains of silence. Then there were stars, distantly blazing into view and snuffing out. Underneath us, a brown speck widened into a sphere, then a meteor, then a moon, with huge, jagged chunks hanging off the bottom as if it had been ripped off of some larger shape. There were no trees, no oceans, only twisted mountains of red-stained rock, and as they rose up around us, I twisted the barely conscious Swine-Thing underneath me. It burst when we hit bottom, breaking my fall like a swollen pillow as it splattered into a chunky puddle of moldy flesh. It took me a few minutes to get up, my arms and legs slowly moving like I was underwater. I stood at the edge of a vast arena of stone, its boundaries and benches carved from the ground like sculptures from marble. The huge crag-covered mountains rose up around the lowered arena in all directions, encircling it. As I stared, I began to make out shapes carved into the peaks and nestled between the sloping folds of rock. They were statues, each one 20 or 30 feet tall, and some of them were shapes I recognized. One was Shiva, the Hindu god, its 6 arms covering its face in penitent shame. Another was Christ, collapsed to his knees with the crown of thorns gouging out his eyes and the cross weighing heavily on his shoulders. There were others too. Zeus, Ra, Odin, and more I didn't recognize scattered across the mountains. All of them facing the arena. What kind of place was this? And what great hands had carved it? A black sun shone brilliantly in the endless sky, circled by countless colors of impossible planets. Was this the end? The end of all things? I looked at the center of the arena, where a familiar shape of glittering emerald stood alone. It was the house, with impressions of arched windows and a roof that sloped into a tall point. There were parapets, shadows, sharp angles. A shape shifted inside, obscured by layers of translucent rock, and I watched it walk from one room to another where it lowered and sat, cloaked in shadow. I turned my head back to the mountains where 2 plumes of white fog burst out under an overhanging rock. A gigantic, hideous shape loped out of the dark, thick arms hanging down from broad, meaty shoulders, and when it snorted, more fog issued out from its nose between its massive tusks. A miles-high Swine-Thing lumbered down into the lowered arena, shaking the ground with each booming step it took, and its chalk-white skin glowed with the light of a billion dead stars. Its spotlight eyes fell upon the emerald house, and it reached out to grasp it, slamming its hand against the impression of the front door in a furious attempt to break it down. The house stood unmoved. Somehow, somewhere at the back of my mind, mad ideas began to bubble up. The end of all things, the true immortality of the gods, and the house on the Borderland that held it all together. I laughed, unable to help myself, as the realization swept through me and the thing outside the house turned its head at the sound. Its spotlight eyes bathed me in the light of the long-dead universe, and I felt myself begin to burn, but as it reached its massive hand out to crush me, I fainted dead away.
You're all right. You're okay. Don't try to move just yet.
At the sound of his voice, my eyes fluttered open. There was Hank, as old as I first seen him, leaning over me as I laid in bed. I moved to sit up, and he put a strong hand on my shoulder, then smiled and offered me a plate of food.
Eggs and bacon for your strength.
How did I get here? Hank? I thought you were dead.
When you've been at this as long as I have, Jessup, you learn to have a few tricks up your sleeve. Besides, some nutcase warned me about it years ago.
I stared at him, taking in his expression and the wrinkles on his face in the morning sun. There was a gleam in his eye, some knowledge, and for a second I wondered if he had died, and simply knew how not to make it take. Maybe here, on land that bled, being torn apart by things that eat time was nothing more than an inconvenience. But he was just a man, wasn't he? At least for now. Only maybe he was less Titus Andronicus and a little more Prospero.
You knew the whole time, didn't you? You knew everything. Why didn't you warn me?
What I didn't know, I mostly figured out. But it's hard to keep it all straight some days. I am getting old, you know.
Then why won't you leave, Hank? Go retire somewhere clocks run the right direction and let the universe take care of itself.
How's our guest? Is he awake yet?
Awake, sober, and grateful for your cooking.
A smile crept across Hank's face, and he turned to look at the doorway just in time to see someone step inside. She was almost angelic in the early morning sunlight, so beautiful through thick glasses and some wrinkles, and I knew her face from the framed pictures scattered all around the house.
Ted Jessup, this is my wife, Esther.
Pleasure to meet you, ma'am.
Pleasure's all mine. How are the eggs?
They're perfect.
I was just telling my new friend here he ought to lay off the drinks. Hell of a place to find him, sprawled out at the edge of the ravine like that. He's lucky to be alive.
Lucky you're an old softy, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
All right. Well, I'm going to go clean up breakfast. You want me to come back with a first aid kit?
No, that's all right. I'll see to his bumps and bruises and get him on his way back home.
Sure thing. Nice meeting you.
You too, ma'am. Thanks again for the eggs.
Ma'am.
A sweetheart, isn't she?
But how's it possible? Hank, I thought she was dead.
Not here she isn't. If she was here once, she always is. And every now and again I get the privilege of running into her. Seeing you that night, that's how I figured it out in the first place. Everywhere, every when, right now to forever. Her eyesight never was too good. She doesn't seem to notice when I've got a few extra wrinkles. And if she does, she doesn't say.
But those things.
We lived here together for years. I never even saw one until after she died. In fact, the first prowler I ever saw was the one you brought back to me. The rest of them started getting brave right after. But the time I lived here with Esther was always safe. It's just like Pepper. Sometimes I've got the world, and sometimes it's just me and an empty house. But moments like this, you hold them tight while you've got them. Because sooner or later, they slip through your fingers.
I'm sorry about Pepper, Hank. It's my fault.
It's water under the bridge flowing upstream, Jessup. There's no helping it. Now come on, let's get you cleaned up before time starts shifting again. We'll see if we can get you back to your car by lunchtime.
We talked about all that had happened while he patched me up, swapping tales of misplaced time and mislaid space like a pair of old drinking buddies swapping war stories. And soon enough, just like he said, we were back in the ramshackle house on the Borderland, just where and when we left it. A little worse for wear, but more than a little better for the journey. I knew now why he wouldn't leave, why he couldn't. The real reason he'd end up the last man standing against the yawning black at the end of all things. He might as well have been a statue himself, a monolith shaped by the ages like a rock in the river. I hear rumors sometimes that old Behringer house high in the hills finally collapsed under its own weight, or that the ground underneath it finally crumbled and it crashed down into the dried-up river. But I don't worry, because I know that it isn't true. That house would stay, and he'd stay in it, until the sun burnt black and the stars flickered out one by one in the boiling sky. He'd always be there, just as long as she was. You know old folks. Some are just stubborn.
The House on the Borderland was written and directed by Jonathan Inbody, and adapted from the novel of the same name by William Hope Hodgson. It was edited by Jeffrey Lavin, with music composed and performed by Samantha Hunt. Jessup, the narrator, was played by Harold Octavius Jacob. Hank Barringer was played by Sean C. Sanders, and Shanda Gardner played Esther.
Gray Matter is a Word Search Media production. Any similarities to real people, places, or things is purely coincidental.
If you like the show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And support us at patreon.com/graymatterhorror.
Be kind. Rewind.